Hello, everyone, and welcome to the City Commissioner's Report for the City of Pikeville. And we're going to have a special program for you today. Not only do we have one of the City Commissioners to talk to, two-term Commissioner Jimmy Carter, but Jimmy has a guest, and he'll be introducing her in just a moment. It's always a pleasure to have her. She's so tolerant of me, she allows me to call her Sister Golden Hair. And you also have a nickname, Leslie, on the General Assembly for your mountain delegation cohorts, Keith and Ray and Hubert. What do they call you?
Well, I'm sitting here trying to remember. I try to forget it, Homer.
Blondie.
Blondie, that's right. Hey, Blondie.
Hey,
yeah,
Blondie.
that was primarily Debbie Keith's nickname.
Okay, we're going to talk about the City of Pikeville as it transpired in the year 2011. This program will bridge 11 with 12. We're taping it on the 28th of December. So let me introduce Jimmy Carter. Jimmy, can you give us a kind of a synopsis of what happened in 2011? It was a very busy year for Pikeville.
A very busy year, Homer. 2011, saw us work with the Expo Center to take it over a little bit and help them along the way. And that's probably one of our biggest accomplishments of the year, is to stabilize the Expo Center and move it forward to we can't say that it's ever going to make money. These venues are designed to make money, but to bring in tax revenue for us. So we're proud about that.
We've talked before about the Expo Center. You said it was a revelation to you about booking acts and whatnot, although that goes to Steve St. John to do that. But eventually it trickles down to you and the responsibility to see that the bills are paid.
Absolutely, and the good thing is that with the restaurant tax that we imposed a few months ago, helped subsidize the Expo Center. So it's not coming out of the general fund, so to speak, as far as what we need to do to keep it open, keep the doors open.
In addition to being a city commissioner, Jimmy, you're on the committee considering Jenny Wiley Theater for downtown Pikeville.
Yes, and we're coming along. We've picked an architect for that project, and we should be seeing some sketches and some things, photos and renderings that we can look at and put a face with, and hopefully we'll be able to start this in the early spring to get it out of the ground.
Has a budget been finalized for that undertaking?
Not exactly yet. We're still looking for some dollar figures on some major components. I would say in the next 2 to 3 weeks we should be getting some numbers that we can live with.
Has your committee been presented with the wish list of all the bells and whistles that you wish to see in it?
The Theater Association has definitely, they have a very large wish list. Again, it all goes back to what we can afford, what they want, and try to come to a happy medium, which we will. It may not get everything they want in there at the first go around, but I feel like somewhere down the road it'll be a top-notch facility for us to present.
Bring us up to speed on the location and how the old Dollhairs building will be incorporated into the final project.
Well, the city purchased the old Dollhairs building a couple of months ago, and it will house part of the Jenny Wiley Theater along with the vacant lot next door to it, the parking lot. The black box, or the box itself, or the theater itself, will be built on the parking lot. Offices, green rooms, restrooms, and all that will be in the old Dollhairs building.
Dollhairs building will also provide you with storage off-season when you're not in production for stage presentations.
Correct. Everything that really what they don't have in Prestonsburg right now, they will be able to have here in Pikeville.
Is there any idea, I know you're in the early stages, about how many presentations will be made in a year at the Pikeville location?
I think at this point they were talking either 5 to 6 to 7, somewhere around there, on a rotating basis throughout the year. So it'll be an ongoing thing.
And the location, in case viewers are not familiar with it, it is the Division Street, 2nd Street intersection, that block that faces Hambly Boulevard.
Correct, on the corner of Division and 2nd.
Another thing that happened, Jimmy, in 2011, the Randy Jones Universal Playground in Pikeville was certainly a major player in that undertaking.
Yeah, and we're very proud to be a part of that, and Representative Combs was also a big part of making that happen through some funds through the state. And you know, if no one's ever been up there to look at that, it's really an outstanding facility. And I just talked to Jimmy Kinney a couple of weeks ago, and I think at this time the rocket ship that was planned, it's like a $10,000 or $12,000 addition to the park already has been put in place.
It's one of the unique venues in the state of Kentucky, perhaps only the second one in the entire state, and it's garnering a lot of attention and interest as it's being developed. And we're told by Jimmy Kinney it will never be fully finished.
Correct, and you know, Jimmy told me that there's been several communities, several people, several entities that have already come up and looked at it and going to, you know, try to do some things like that throughout the state. So it's a big win for Pikeville.
Let's talk about something that is very serious, and that is funding. And we'll be talking to Representative Combs about statewide funding. How did the city come out in 2011?
Came out really well, you know, and we have to, you know, like we've said in past shows, you know, we've kind of in the perfect storm with the construction that's going on in downtown. You know, our tax base has been up, our population was up, one of the only very few in the state that had a population increase of almost 10%, 8%, somewhere around in there. So, you know, we've been very fortunate, very proud to say that we're above board, and we're working towards to continue that.
The increase in population will have an impact on redistricting later, so Pikeville may be playing a role in that. Once again, in just a moment, we'll talk with Representative Combs. What about the construction, Jimmy? Talk to us for a few minutes about everything that's going on within the city limits.
Well, you know, like we've talked in the past, you know, UPike is their osteopathic medical building is really taking shape, and hopefully I think they're supposed to be in by May or June. The Judicial Center is moving right along on schedule as well. You know, the college is building a new indoor athletic facility right behind City Hall here in Pikeville, where the old tennis courts was. We've got the new, not the Hampton, but next door to the Hampton, the new hotel coming in. They're supposed to be starting in March or April. So, you know, it continues to press on, and we've got so much going on in the city right now.
And you talked about there's been little or no disruption of traffic flow or any problems with police or safety in downtown Pikeville during this activity.
No, it's gone very smooth considering the major constructions that is going on. I mean, these are very large buildings, a lot of trucks in and out daily. It's really gone a lot smoother than what we anticipated.
Anything you want to put before the audience, Jimmy, that we haven't covered up to this point?
You know, we've got you know, still got a long ways to go on a lot of projects that we're looking at, and just be patient with us, and hopefully we'll get where you want to be.
Okay, let's slide over to your left, be on my right, and introduce. Do you want to introduce this young lady?
My honor and privilege to introduce Representative Leslie Combs. Leslie's done so much for the city of Pikeville and the region and the county. It's just a pleasure to be able to have someone that we can work with so closely, and to pretty much call our friend and friends that we can go to her and ask for advice and help when we need it.
Thank you, Jimmy. It's been a pleasure to work with the city of Pikeville, and particularly in all the advancements they're making. It's always fun when progress is happening.
Absolutely, and I can say that all three of us are residents of the city of Pikeville.
Right, exactly.
So we have Pikeville's concern in our heart and in our head.
Absolutely.
Tuesday, January 3rd. Once again, the bridging of this program may overlap that date somewhat, but you'll be in Frankfort for what would be a 60-day session, because
Correct.
This will be an even-numbered year, 2012.
Right. Long budget session.
A long budget session, but that's not the only issue you'll take up. But let's talk about budgeting.
Okay.
That'll be the top of your do list, I suppose, the discussion and debate.
Yes, there'll be quite a bit of discussion on the budget. This is my 6th regular legislative session. While we typically are supposed to do the budget during that 60-day long session, it seems like we address it every year. And every year it takes on a different personality.
The word ranker was used.
That's true, yes. But every year you think you've had a couple of years under your belt, and you're going to have a session that you can flow through in a normal sense, and I haven't had one yet and don't anticipate this to be a normal session as well. In regards to the budget, yes, there are a lot of concerns centered around that for a couple different reasons. I'm anxious to see what the governor presents in his biennial budget, because obviously we take that document and begin to work with it in terms of what essentially becomes a biennial budget at the end of the session once it's voted upon. I'd be interested to see what items are in there, how the governor is going to deal with the revenue issues. If latest reports have come out, our revenues, it looks like we've hit the bottom and we're starting to go up. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Revenues are on the increase, except in prior years, or the last year in particular, we took advantage, and most all states did, of federal stimulus dollars that are one-time dollars.
They may not be there this
They
time.
may not be there this time, and the point is, while those revenues are increasing, there's a timing element there as to when your budget will actually see those revenue increases. So the time lapse in there of not having potential stimulus dollars and trying to meet the gap to where your revenues raise, and our obligation, according to the Constitution, is to balance that budget.
Do you see, it was almost a knockdown fight over the budget last year, furlough of employees, discussions that became at least heated at times. Do you see that same kind of opposition and discussion this year?
I see a lot of that same discussion. How the reactions to it, I think every year are different depending on who all they affect and what position people are in. For example, yes, the governor did the furloughs, and there were a lot of, negative reactions from employees, state employees. At the same time, while we didn't want employees to have to suffer that or have a reduction in their pay, what the furloughs did was maintain jobs. You had one of two choices. You could cut jobs, okay, or you could try to level out the jobs available, keep everyone employed, but yet, yes, they lost a few days. They lost days per month of pay in order to try to make cuts there. So it's kind of it's a catch-22. It's how you want to approach it as to what really happened.
Governor Beshear has made the pronouncement there will be no furloughs during this hammering out of the budget.
It has not been brought up. I mean, it's not been thought of or, introduced as an idea. That's why I'm saying I'm anxious to hear what his budget proposal is.
It'll be here Tuesday before you know it.
That's exactly right.
Let's talk about an emotional issue that has gotten a reaction across the state before we get to the U-Pike question, which we want to discuss in detail. But on Tuesday also there will be a release of almost 1,000 inmates out of the Kentucky correctional system, and this ties directly into a concern on budget. There's talk that it will save $40 million over the biennial. Do you buy into those figures?
Based on the information that we have available to us, and this information was not done quickly or hastily, there was a lot of study and a lot of time put into trying to determine this, bring about this legislation that created this idea. So it wasn't something that was done overnight. Yes, there's a lot of concern on folks' part, and should be. There's concern on the legislators' part about how this is truly going to be implemented and if it's going to be beneficial. Legislators are already on note, I guess you would say, about watching it. We've talked about it amongst ourselves in the various different caucuses, and we've said we've got to watch it very, very carefully because it is a piece of legislation that, yes, could possibly have consequences, and it's something that we need to pay very, very close attention to and make changes very quickly if necessary if we start seeing it not work according to how we thought it would work.
First reaction, Leslie, is that it's an emotional issue that may not have the basis of level of emotions that it should have. People are reacting too strongly, and I tell you how you can help allay some of those fears. You can tell us what the criteria was for the release of those, if you're familiar with that.
Well, obviously there was a lot of thought and discussion and study that went into nonviolent offenders. Okay, and when you have nonviolent offenders, what are getting the professionals' response to how do they truly act? What truly happens if they were released and more emphasis was put on the rehab? Does the fact that they're incarcerated due to a nonviolent offense, okay, is that truly rehabilitating them and doing what's necessary to fix the problem at hand? So yes, people are very emotional, very concerned, and they have a right to be. But we are optimistic and hopeful that they will react as we hope, and that once they're released, we hope we've truly, I guess, identified the behaviors of a nonviolent offender. Now, if we find we haven't, we've got to act quickly.
That was my next remark. If the General Assembly finds a problem with it, even a minor problem, you guys are ready to roll back the situation.
Been a lot of discussion about that, and very recently, because the date is approaching.
So it happens next Tuesday, which is also the first day of the reconvening of the General Assembly. Redistricting, Leslie, the 2010 census has given us new figures to work with. Jimmy Carter made the observation that we in the city of Pikeville, by 10%. How do you see redistricting going? You're representing part of Letcher, Harlan, and Pike counties.
Right, with Pikeville being a big part of my district. In Eastern Kentucky, the majority, in fact almost all, of the legislative districts have reduced. There are two, and I think I'm right about this, my district along with Richard Henderson's out of Montgomery County have increased, okay? A lot of my increase is due to the city of Pikeville and the increase in population there. So as far as our two districts are concerned, we're pretty much, in fact, we've got a little bit to spare for those who need some numbers. The rest of the districts are, the numbers are down, and right now they are actively trying to rearrange the lines. It's like a jigsaw puzzle.
It becomes a highly political thing also.
It becomes a highly political thing, but first, before it becomes political, you've got to decide within the rules you're given how those lines or those jigsaw pieces fit together. And there are rules that you have to follow, like you can have only so many splits of a county. And what happens is if you don't fall within those lines and set the redistricting plan accordingly, then you're subject to a lawsuit, and then the courts will decide what your district will be.
Constitutionally, the optimum figure about 65,000 population in a district, is that right?
In the House districts, I think we're right around 43 to 45.
43.
We were, our averages were 40, now we're coming up to 43 to 45. So those are the House districts.
And yours is the 94th?
Yes, yes. So
I know you've looked at a map and tried to figure out and apply the census to it. Do you see your district changing?
Right now, like I said, I have the number I need. So my district could stay the same. I'm expecting it to stay the same. Like I said, there's parts of it that I could give away a little bit to other legislators around me. But right now, I see my district pretty much staying like it is.
All right, thank you, Leslie. Let's get to a subject now that impacts us all. Jimmy, the U-Pike situation. You want to lay the groundwork for that? Tell us what's about to happen, if possible.
Well, this is just, I think, pretty much new to all of us. Governor Patton has suggested to the state that the University of Pikeville enter into the state university system. I haven't seen any numbers on what it's supposed to take to do this, or the process of it. Leslie might have some more information than what I do, but it'd be great for the area, great for the community for sure, and great for the upcoming students that would be wanting to go to a state-funded university. The tuition would obviously be a lot less than what they're paying now at Pikeville College. So
this will be a tremendous opportunity for Eastern Kentucky. We can talk about right here in Pikeville, but I'm talking all of the Eastern Kentucky region, particularly southeastern Kentucky, to be able to offer this educational opportunity in this manner is something that we technically haven't had in Eastern Kentucky. Now, we have Moorhead that's north of us, but as far as the true Eastern Kentucky State University, it doesn't exist. And so we, this is a great opportunity, and you know, I have had a career with Pikeville College. I've been with them for 23 years. It was my life. My children grew up there. That's kind of how I always described it. I grew up there professionally.
As did I.
Yes, okay. It's, I've watched that institution develop and grow, expand in its programs and its opportunities. And I know also that a lot of our residents, a lot of the people in our area will not go away. There's a learning curve there in terms of they're not comfortable going away. They would be more comfortable here. But when you're looking at tuition of $16,000 a year, here's what happens. Pikeville College and other financial aid opportunities, state and federal, available to the students who qualify, I mean, is only so much. So you usually have a big gap there between what they might get and even full tuition in a lot of cases, or when I say full tuition, full financial aid, and what the actual tuition cost is. And there's that gap that's hard for a lot of people to fill and to cover. When you're going to UK, when you're going to Moorhead, when you're going to Eastern, when you're going to the other state institutions, that is competing with tuition that's around 6,000 to 8,000, say, okay? So you can meet those needs with state and federal financial aid and some institutional scholarship, but it's very, very difficult to meet that gap with 16,000. Now, as has already been suggested and told, what you miss is the middle income folks. You either can address the very rich who can afford to pay it, or the very, very poor who do get the most financial aid available. They get the loans to cover the difference. But there's a lot of students in the middle who, in fact, I've had a lot of constituents, a lot of friends who've come up and said, Leslie, you know, I was planning on X dollars, but I wasn't planning on Y. You know, what can we do? And they really wanted their children to go to Pikeville College. And sorry, that's an old habit. University of Pikeville. I will never get away from Pikeville College.
You owe $5.
Yeah. Okay, I will pay up. Okay, yes, but it's yeah, that's going to be a hard one for me to get used to, but I'll figure out a way.
Not only, now I make this observation from a news standpoint. I haven't heard any opposition to being incorporated into the state system. I've heard a statement or two of concern, but nothing that would rise to the level of we're going to oppose this strongly. House Speaker has fallen in line and supported it strongly. Governor Beshear has not said no. He called in the last couple of days for a review by an independent person or agency to see what the feasibility would be to incorporate into the state system, but that does not represent any kind of opposition. If anything, that would show a support, because the 8 counties in the coal-producing region here in eastern Kentucky do not have a state-supported university. We have Eastern at Richmond, and we have Moorhead. Of course, Dr. Andrews at Moorhead has not raised any opposition. He seems to be comfortable with that situation. On January 3rd, next Tuesday, this will eventually come up in the General Assembly because it has to be approved by the legislature. Do you find any opposition?
Right now, I think when the announcement was made, it was unexpected. So people are first reaction is they're in amazement and go, okay, can you explain this to me? So fellow colleagues, other legislators that have called me about it, once I get through explaining, you know, what we're trying to accomplish here, what the true dollar amount is going to be, what we think it can produce, you know, obviously the number one concern will be, you know, the higher education institutions, state institutions are all worried about their own state budgets and how it's going to affect theirs. And while we're still compiling numbers and working on this, when you look at what we bring to the table, I think it'll be a good deal for the state of Kentucky as far as what assets we're bringing to the table, the institution and the position and the condition that it's in. I think it will be one of the more self-sustaining institutions that we've got as time goes on. So when I talk to other colleagues about what the possibilities are, what its true purpose and accomplishment in education, what we're trying to accomplish there, which is a number one goal for a lot of us, is education for our children. And so once I talk to them about it, they kind of get the idea. They say, okay, we can grasp that. I've had a few legislators that when they read the announcement, or I saw them shortly thereafter, said, this is a no-brainer. This is a no-brainer. Let's go.
Can I take that response as it's going to sail through the legislature?
I wouldn't sit here and say that it's going to sail through. I think it's going, as anything does, could potentially have some opponents, as a lot of things do. But I think it will be very reasonable, and right now I'm very optimistic that it is going to go through. I wouldn't say sail through, but go through.
Jimmy Carter, if UPike becomes a part of the state system and grows with the predictions made by former governor and now president of University of Pikeville, it's going to have implications for the city.
Oh, absolutely, Homer. And you know, we discussed earlier that infrastructure for the city and the college or university is, I owe somebody $5 now. Governor Patton's getting his pocket full today.
James Hurley's made $10 so far.
But, you know, the infrastructure is a concern, but it's something that we cannot handle. And I'm sure that they've already got the plans available. I know, speaking with Governor Patton on several occasions on his vision where the university is going and the additional buildings that they're going to need, dorms and all that, it's not like it's, you know, he's already got those out there in the plan, so it's not like it's not been thought about already.
And the facilities that are there are in, I mean, some of them are old, but they have been remodeled. They've been redone. I know in my 23 years, that's what I spent time doing, was going through and I was a part of just about every building being remodeled. So as far as the condition of the campus and the assets the state would be given, it's a no-brainer.
A no-brainer.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. I'll tell you another no-brainer. Our time's up. Is that the fastest 30 minutes we've spent together in a long time? Any final thoughts, Representative Combs?
Well, I'm looking forward to this coming session, but I have to say I'm a little hesitant about it because you never quite know what to expect and you never know quite what turns it's going to take. But I think we got a lot of folks, regardless of which side of the aisle they're on, that are very concerned about what we have before us. And I want to believe this coming year you're going to see a lot more compromise. You're going to see a lot more understanding of we've got a job to do and we've got to get it done. Because if I've had a negative over the last couple of years, I think it's the fact that we haven't worked out some issues as well as we should have, or as professionally as we should have, and that's been the most frustrating thing to me, because I'm a solution-oriented person, and my goal is to get things done and get things fixed for the people that we serve. And when we don't do that, that aggravates me a little bit.
Jimmy Carter, your guest, we have not even touched, we barely touched on the budget. We haven't talked about the gaming initiative introduced by Governor Beshear. He wants it turned into an amendment, and several other issues that concern the state. Perhaps we can invite Leslie back again.
I think we need to,
yeah.
Especially maybe get some time when she gets some time off in the next 60 days to maybe come back and join us. And I want to thank Leslie for coming in today and spending some time with us.
Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you all for having me. And I think that would be good to bring a couple of us back in and let us do an update session. You know, let you have an update midway on what's happening and how it's progressing.
Let's make that a date.
We'll do it.
All right.
Sounds good.
Got it.
This has been the City Commissioners Report for the City of Pikeville. I'm Homer Owens for Pike TV.